Good morning. It is July 12th, 2019, and my name is Taylor Delka. I am a student at North Central University, and I'm currently in the course EDL 8335, Week 2, and this week focused on implicit bias, understanding it and applying it. So, the first question in this assignment is that my best understanding of implicit bias, what is that? After reading the articles and the given resources and trying my best to put it in my own words, I really feel like implicit bias, in summation, is your quick order thinking and quick processing of decision making with stereotypical or judgmental thoughts, but without thought process being taking place with it. It's very quick, it's very immediate, and so it's something that's been ingrained or embedded in you based on your own experiences or based on what you've been taught throughout life and what you've seen. And so implicit bias is not something that we technically can be judged on in a negative way, but it's just how life has shaped our way of thinking. And so it's an immediate response of decision making with either gender or ethnicity or sexual orientation or educational background. Each of these things plays a part in the way that we think and make decisions. And so implicit bias ultimately is our quick order way of thinking on making decisions, whether we realize we're putting towards bias at all. So that's how I would best explain it. The second part of the assignment is that we were to take an IAT assessment and kind of see where our bias lies. I took one specifically on sexual orientation. I wanted to see, how much aligned I was and how much self-realization I had of myself. And growing up in the church, you're taught one way, and so I just wanted to see how much I was able to combat in these past few years. And so after taking it, it says that I have no preference towards sexual orientation as far as when I make decisions. It's not based on someone's decision to be gay or straight or their lifestyle. I tend to make decisions that are focused on other factors. And so it makes me feel good to know that that's one thing that I've strived not to make decisions about in regards to sexual orientation, and I've been able to just consider them as a human being and not whether or not they're dating a man or a woman. So that really affirmed some things for myself. And so I feel like this IAT was accurate. Now, I did not take the gender one. Had I already know where I lean. I feel very deeply and strongly toward women's rights and stereotype women over men as needing or being more successful. And so I know that I'm really going to have to retrain and reframe my mind in that area specifically. And so that's definitely one area that I know I need to work on. Sorry, I'm reading through this. So it says, for example, what role did family conversations, things you learned in school, culture experiences, the news, or even television play with my hidden bias? Well, my hidden bias is gender. And so growing up, I had not a typical life, but it was hard for me. My mom was married 4 times throughout my teenage years, and that definitely played a role as far as men and their influence upon me. My dad is bipolar, my biological dad, and so that definitely plays a role as far as how I feel about mental disorders. It's also given strong perspective, and I've had to learn and grow through that, as well as So that's just the family interactions, but men in the workplace have not given the best interactions. And so I know for myself, my workplace environment has caused me to ingrain myself in thinking that men are not always kind and very selfish. And so I really have to be thoughtful about making decisions in regards to gender. And not only that, society plays a major role in this. Growing up, it was about women empowerment, and it still is. And so to be taught over and over again by your mom, by society, by television, by things that I read, books that I choose, the leaders that I follow, one of them being like Brene Brown, an excellent author and a doctoral teacher and example for me. And, it's all about women empowerment. And even though, you think, oh no, she's talking about everyone in general, and she mentions men in her books, but to me, I feel as though she's speaking towards women. And once again, that is where my bias falls into place. And so that is something that I need to be working on. But a lot of factors have caused me to have gender bias for sure. And so, also, your third question is, in what ways might you work on your own hidden biases now that you've taken IAT? Well, reading through some of the things, one, just self-realization is super important, and that is step one. So now knowing that, and having been knowing that, I can now sit and reflect and seek mentorship and counsel as far as, maybe I need different perspective. I need more positive male experiences to help me understand that men are not a negative gender. And so any interaction with men that go opposite of the way I feel about them, I think that's incredibly important. I need to hold on to those interactions and those relationships as much as possible. Also, I really feel like counseling or some sort of mentor can kind of walk me through this as far as, giving me advice, giving me perspective, and not creating a vicious cycle. So I think that's incredibly important. And through the readings, it's laid out for us that number one is self-realization, taking that IAT, and then second is creating some sort of plan to combat the bias, that we can restructure and reframe our mind, but it takes pattern and pattern behavior, pattern thinking, and so that's going to take some time. But the more often I make decisions, less on gender, more on just the factual evidence of the events or situation, that's going to be most important for my journey in this. As far as the last question, it says, as a researcher, how will you use this information when reviewing information shared by authors or by others? Well, that's difficult. I'm not even going to say that I won't have my own implicit bias on the authors that I have or that I plan to read, or people that I speak with. Now having the knowledge of implicit bias and realizing like it's an immediate thought process that is taking place, I'm going to need to be much more aware and more vigilant. I don't want to say critical in a negative way, but more critical in my own self-thoughts and also on theirs. What bias do they hold when they're making decisions and either writing or speaking with me? And so it's creating more opportunities for patience. As a researcher myself, I will collect data with the limitations very apparent and very aware, knowing that there are holes and gaps in some of the research based on bias alone. And it's going to help me to kind of weed that out and look for articles that are more focused on excluding gender roles or race and ethnicity or the sexual orientation. And so I'm going to be looking for articles that really try to combat that by them being more self-aware, and that being listed either in their abstract, in their introduction, or looking at their limitations. But these past articles have really shown that these authors have become much more aware. So my time is up, but I hope that this gave a good, strong understanding of implicit bias from me, and that I was able to do the assignment justice. Thank you.